In this video, we are going to see how to create Azure SQL Server and database. And after that, we are going to create some login and as well as user and assign them some permission so that another user can log into your database server and create tables or run any queries, select, update, delete. So all those queries can be run by another user apart from the admin. So what we'll be doing, we'll be just I'll just create a resource group so that whatever resources I'll create inside this one. And I'll search for Azure SQL. I'll not be going through all the properties or fields that are required to create a server or database. I'll just keep all the default values. And the database name, let's say, and I'll create a new server. And in this case, I'll be selecting both SQL and Azure AD authentication. The reason being, because I need to give another user access by creating their login. And here I'll be selecting myself as the admin. And here I'll be just giving the admin credentials. My server is created and I have given the database name. Then since this is my development database and rest all settings, I'll keep it as default. And here I'll just create my server and as well as database. Initially, when the server is created, no public endpoint or public access is given to the database server. You need to assign the access to specific IP addresses. Let's suppose I am accessing it from my virtual machine. So I have to give my client IP address, that is my virtual machine IP address, so that whatever request comes from this virtual machine, they can access my SQL database. Okay, the DB and the servers is successfully created. Now, what we will do, I have just gone to my database. I'll go to the query editor. And here, I'll not be able to access using my credentials because the connection was denied since deny public network access is set to yes. So what I'll do, I'll just go to the overview, click on set server firewall, and I'll select the selected networks. And in this case, I'm going to add my client IP address and click on save. If your client IP address is not available, then you can manually add it. So what is the error? Failed to update name. Unable to create or modify firewall when public network interface for the server is disabled to please enable the public network interface. Okay, so it is enabled. Okay, let's do one thing. Okay, now let me add the IP address. Okay, that would do. Now, what I'll do, I'll go back to my database. I'll go to query editor and here I'll just log in as admin. Okay. Now there are like limited functionalities available on the query editor since it is still in preview mode. You can create login users using the SQL Server Management Studio. In this video, we are not going to create login user using that. We'll be using Azure Data Studio that is new. It's just that we are exploring new tools. So I'll just download the system installer. If you are only installing it for a single user, then you can go ahead with the user installer. Since I want to install it for all the users who will be accessing my machine, so I'll have downloaded the system installer and I'll run as administrator. Okay, I'll just select these two options and next install. It has the same interface, like not same interface, like but same level of functionality as that of SSMS. So to log in, you can either provide the server name, and from that server name, it will be able to extract the database name, and then you can provide the SQL credentials to log in. Basically, for now, I'll select a new connection. There are like various ways you can connect to your Azure SQL. Either you can give a server name manually, or you can pass a connection string. That is the easiest way to do. So I'll just move with the parameters. So I'll also show you how you can use the connection string. So let me go back to my SQL DB, and here you'll find the connection strings, and you can just copy the connection string that is for the SQL authentication. It does not contain the password. So what you have to do, you have to replace this with your password and just have to paste it over here in the connection string, and you'll be able to make connection. Okay, for now we'll be using the parameters, and let me give the server name. That is, here is my server full name, that is my including the, it's basically a website name. Okay, so I have given by server, and since I'll be logging in using the SQL login using my username password, I can also use the Azure Active Directory because I have enabled that as well. So let's log in using the SQL credentials. Let me remember the password. Yeah, I think that is all it's required. Okay, database. It's still loading. Let's see if it is able to find. Okay, perfect. So it is able to recognize my DB. So let's keep it as default and connect. Okay, I have made the connection. Now I'm not going to show you like what all the features are here because even I have not explored it much. I am just showing you how to create a login and the user. So I'll click on new query. So the first two commands you have to run on the master DB, and the another two commands you have to run on your database. basically what database you have created on SQL, Azure SQL. So let me use this. So I have written these commands and let me paste it over here. Okay. So create login with this name, with password, and whatever you define, and also create a user from this particular login. You can have different login name and different username, but I have given the same. Just you can just directly run this, and the command successfully ran. Now you just have to change to your database and run the next two set of command. Here you're creating a database user and assigning the role. You'll see an error because no, you'll not see an error. Okay. So here, alter role, I am giving myself as DDL admin. You can also give them your user a write access so that they can only run the select queries. Select, update, delete. So only these queries they can run. Yeah. And for the DDL admin, they can also create a tables in the database and do a lot of different functionalities. This is the best one if you are giving somebody the access to the database so that they can create tables, connect different tables and all. So this is the best role to give. So I'll just run this one and command successfully run. So what I'll do, I'll just log in it using these credentials to my Azure SQL DB just to verify it is working fine. Okay, now I'm able to log in. That means it worked perfectly. Okay, yeah, that is all. Thanks everyone.